So I was laying in bed trying to fall asleep last night, just thinking about a lot of things, trying to figure out my entire life, as I fell asleep, as you do. Um, and I was just kind of thinking about, um, musing about if I wanted to make more YouTube videos and stuff and what I would want to talk about. And one idea that has been, in my head for a while, which I'm sure is not completely original, but basically just books that like fundamentally altered my molecular makeup, like changed the way I feel like my brain functions, the way I see the world, like the way I relate to other people, the way I relate to my surroundings, that kind of thing. Because there have been a couple like really intense like shifts throughout my life, like directly attached to specific books that I've read. Um, and so I wanted to do that. And that's the introduction. So I'm just gonna start with the first one, which is Hyperspace by Michio Kaku. And this book is, how can I like do this? You can like see it while I talk. It's kind of cool. Okay. Um, this book is, I've read it almost 4 years ago now, and I really want to read it again. Um, but essentially, it's like talking about um, all of the like the deep physics of the universe, kind of like the law, what's it, the theory of everything, all the different forces, string theory, like nuclear theories, weak forces, time travel, different dimensions in terms of like second versus third, or two versus three dimensions versus four dimensions versus 10, and how things become simpler, the math at least, and it becomes unified when they do it at a theoretical 10th dimension. And I don't completely understand all of the math behind it, obviously, but that's essentially the idea. But like I said, it's been a few years since I read it, so I need to read it again. But basically, it's just like, it just is written so well and so detailed and incredible. And so I just like, I remember reading it, and while I was reading it, it took me about a month because I was going through it pretty slow and like, oh my gosh, just like marking up the pages, looking things up. I remember when I read it, I had like around my bed all of these sticky notes with like definitions and stuff on them. I probably looked like a crazy person, but it was cool. It just kind of made me like process the world a little differently, and now it's less conscious and it's more like kind of fertilizer, and it's kind of integrated itself into my brain. And so I want to read it again to like remind myself of the details and things. Also, if you're interested in things like that, I would recommend it. I honestly think that it's like, I don't know. It's just, like I said, I've so foggy on all of the details now, but it's just like amazing. So that's the first one. Okay, so the next book is Women Who Run with the Wolves by Dr. Clarissa Pincola Estes. And I think that's how you pronounce it. She's of Mexican descent, I believe. But oh my god, I spent the summer reading this book, and it's like genuinely life-changing. I think especially for women to read, every single one should, but for men too, for anyone. it's basically like each chapter, she kind of retells a story, a myth, a fairy tale or something, and then she dissects it and interprets it and applies it to our lives and our psychology and our spirituality and stuff. And it's just like, it's incredible the way that she does it. It's like if I had to pick a book that's my Bible, that's what this feels like. Like, I don't know how to articulate it. I'm very tired still. But how do I do it justice? Like, when I was reading it, it felt like somebody was reaching into my heart and soul and body. Fuck, my storage is low. And like explaining it to me and laying it bare and seeing me and just being very real about it. Like, it's not self-help and like just positive. It's that light and darkness, and it's just completely incredible. So absolutely changed and emphasized things that I had already learned and believed, and gave it more concrete validity and consciousness, you know? So absolutely read it. You need to. It's life-changing, so empowering. That's my gift to you. The third book that I wanted to talk about is fiction, The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. I remember when I first read this book, and I think I read it in one night. I got to a certain point and I just like physically couldn't put it down. It wasn't even a choice. Like, it was just, I forgot I was reading, you know, and that kind of happens where it's just like, you're just so engrossed that you're like, this is all that's real right now. That's what happened to me with this. Essentially, like, I don't know, I don't really like giving away plot points when I talk about books, because even though the plot is part of why I love a book, it's not like the thing that, especially for this kind of category, it's not why it like wormed its way into my brain and like changed it, you know? And basically it's just like a very true story, and like, it's fiction, fantasy, but it's true. And like, I don't know how else to say it. When I was in England, my friend visited me, and they also really love Neil Gaiman, and so we saw the stage production. It just happened to line up that it happened to be at this theater in a town or in a city that was like really close to where we were staying, and it was there for like a couple of days while they were visiting me, and that was just like fate. Anyways, the stage production was incredible, but basically that whole tangent was just to say, like, we sat there and we were just like bawling our eyes out because this story is just so remarkable, and it just like speaks to these really deep fundamental truths about humans and about how we see ourselves and the way that things affect us and people. And like, it's so hard to articulate, and I'm trying to like not talk for 15 minutes about it, but like, and I didn't plan this, obviously, what I was gonna say. Just the way that Neil Gaiman writes also, it's so powerful, and it can be so simple sometimes, but it's so perfect and poignant, and it just like gets right into the very nugget of things. And this book is so short, but it's so like perfectly crafted, everything about it. And like, it just, the way that it like pulled something out from that was like buried deep within myself, and just like gently and lovingly brought it to the surface and just like showed it to me. Like, I swear, like, it's like if you cut me open, you would find the words from this book carved all over me. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, it's been almost 4 minutes, so I'm gonna stop. But that's the third book that altered me at a molecular level. Like, it's in there forever. All right, so the last book that I'm gonna talk about is The Picture of Dorian Gray. If you know me at all, this will not surprise you whatsoever in any way. This book I read quite a few years ago now, and I just remember like the way that it felt like coming home, you know? Like, it just felt like somebody was finally speaking to this part of myself that just hadn't been addressed, you know? But I always knew it was there, and I was always craving to like interact with it. And it gave like concrete, something tangible for me to hold on to, like this romantic, gothic kind of, yeah, darkly romantic, intellectual kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, I my brain's not giving me the words that I need, kind of, but almost just like this indulgent, like just indulgent excess, like knowledge for knowledge's sake, and like showing up overdressed and overeducated and using too many words and just being a little bit like, you know, flowery, and but coming like still rooted in a really genuine place, and like a place that is really well informed and authentic. I don't know if I'm making any sense. Basically, I think what I'm trying to say is just that, like, the style that it in like that in which it's written on top of the plot is what like really made it so special for me, and like it just gave credence to this sort of like worldview and like way to go about life, to just like be so unapologetically yourself in a way. And I don't even think that's like the theme of the book in terms of its content or whatever. I think that's just like specifically for me how it made me feel, because that's just like almost the subtext, or like just Oscar Wilde himself and his life, like his personality even more than his writing was what made him famous and notorious and so popular and like magnetic. And you can just feel that in his writing and like the conversations that he has his characters have. It felt like just sitting in, you know, a smoky salon in Paris in the 1800s and just like having these conversations with all these different personalities, and just like almost like the tragic direction of the story, and like the vanity and the hedonism, you know, like the just like the morality that's discussed, and like all of that. Like it just, like there's this quote in it that is Let me see if I can remember it. It's basically like 3 kind of phrases. I can't always remember exactly the order, but it's like, life has been your art. You have set yourself to music. Your days are your sonnets. And I just remember reading that and just like feeling like I was changing, like I had unearthed some sort of like treasure, you know? And just that kind of idea of like, you know, you can make art as well, but it's your life. Like, it's your life that's your art. It's your story. It's the way that you live every day, you know? But yeah, that's basically all I can say. I feel like I'm, you know, having trouble kind of like articulating exactly what I mean. But yeah, I absolutely adore this book and Oscar Wilde himself. Like, his spirit, I can feel it, you know? And it's just very special to me. And I don't think everybody is going to be affected by it necessarily the way that I have been, because we all have, you know, different things that we need to be. I'm not going to be able to talk while I do this eyeliner at all. I'll do my lipstick. Well, I'm not going to be able to talk while I do that either. Okay. I started talking again while it was on time lapse, but basically what I was saying was, it just feels like sitting down with somebody who just understands me implicitly in this very specific way. And I think a lot of it has to do with the time period and the way that language is used in general in that time, but also just specifically by Oscar Wilde. It's just like this very singular way, like this just very specific turn of phrase and vocabulary, and just, you know, not to say, I mean, obviously I love a lot of modern writers and I think that they can be very beautiful and effective in their own ways. It's just this one very specific part of myself that like really needs that, you know, conversation that I just can't get anywhere else, even that I can't conjure up myself, you know? So it's just like reaching back in time, you know, and being able to access the things that I need from that time a little bit, you know? The romantic version, the language and the conversation, and just like the idea and the aesthetics and everything that like are actually really profound to me. And like I think that's the other thing that like I feel like I took from this experience of reading this book, was I always was and have been very, very sensitive to aesthetics and art and like visual things, but in a way that just like I felt like in my life it was kind of treated as like shallow or seen as shallow, but that's not ever how it felt to me. It felt very profound and very important, and it was hard for me to like accept that part of myself without judging it, or to like really understand it and enjoy it. And I think like this book specifically just really helped me do that. It just helped me to understand myself a lot better. Oh fuck, I got mascara. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it just helped me understand myself a lot better and like appreciate that aesthetics and visuals and art and things are very, very profound and for me they are, and like things that, like I said, may seem a little bit shallow to some people just like are not for me. And yeah, I've been talking about this for a very, very long time. I'll never be able to fully do it justice, so I'm not gonna put pressure on myself too. But yeah, that's the picture of Dorian Gray. That's what I'll say about it for now. Thanks, Oscar. I love you. Okay, I lied. I want to say more stuff. I think for me too, it's like being glamorous or like beautiful and like adorning yourself and like putting on makeup and lipstick and wearing outfits that like seem a little maybe like excessive or ridiculous to some people, and just like I kind of said earlier, just like being yourself unapologetically, even if it seems like a lot or it's too much or it's excessive or indulgent. That's really, if that's who you are, if that feels true, then it's good. And that was something I was not accepting about myself before. And I read it during a time where I was like pretty rapidly going through these various phases and fixations and trying to figure myself out. And I think this was just a really important piece of that for me, with figuring out not only like my style, but my personality and like how I saw myself and how I felt comfortable living. And that is just like a huge part of it, is just like enjoyment for the sake of enjoyment, like using words for the sake of just like the music of conversation or the beauty of words to communicate something that maybe you could communicate like more simply. But why would you if you can, you know, make it beautiful and heavier with meaning and symbolism or like, you know, whatever. So yeah, I think that's all I'll say for now. I'll probably want to like talk more about this in some context at some point, but I'm gonna do my lipstick and call it a day on talking about this for now. All right, so that is it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it all the way through and you survived all of that semi-incoherent ramblings, then I'm very impressed with you, and I hope that you enjoyed it and you got something out of it. If you end up reading any of these books, let me know what you think. Unless it's bad, then like maybe don't break my heart. Or if you have read these books and you can see where I'm coming from, then also let me know, because not a lot of people in my real life have read a lot of the same books as me, so but yeah, that's about it. So I'll see you around in the next one, I guess. And thanks again so much. I'll see you later. So if you made it all the way to the very bitter end, first of all, you get this treat of my swamp witch hair. But I'm gonna give you a little bonus. So this video I talked about books that became integrated into my DNA. I'm gonna give you a little lightning round of, I think I'll do like one album, one movie, and one TV show. And then and that's your treat. Congratulations. That's your prize. So the TV show we'll give is Downton Abbey. that I'm not going to go into explanations because this is a lightning round. The movie, we'll do Spirited Away. Woo! If you know, you know. And the album that I'll give you is, this is, you know, these are just one of many. The album I'll give you is Pink Floyd's The Wall. That was like one of the first ones. So there you are. There's your little bonus. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.